So today I want to talk about forgiveness and holding grudges. So the whole thing about forgiveness is like if I'm obviously, and a lot of people are aware of this, if I'm holding a grudge against you or a resentment against you or a number of people, I'm just hurting myself, right? So I'm poisoning my own self, my own being, because all it is stuff in my mind. So it's more mind stuff that's hurting me and blocking me. And although I think that I just hate this person for what they did and what there's nothing more to it, really, it's hurting me and manifesting in other ways, other relationships in my life, and just in my overall personality, even though I don't realize it. So like me, for example, when I was in active addiction with drugs and alcohol, I hated a lot of people, and really it was more so that I hated myself, but I didn't realize that and I didn't acknowledge that. So like it came out as me having a lot of resentments against other people. And ultimately it is true that when I can forgive myself, when I can let myself go, then I can forgive other people as well. Because as long as if I hate myself, I could forgive you, but I'm a lot more apt to make more resentments against people. People that are totally at peace with themselves, people that are okay with their being, that live content, happy, and serene lives don't often have deep resentments, rarely at all. And if they do, they know that that is an obstacle to them living the way that they want, and they have to do something, to remove that. And forgiveness is tough because, like, a lot of times people think that they're justified in their resentments. Like, they hurt me, or they did that to me, or how could you ever do that to somebody or somebody's kid, or why would you treat your family like that, or why would you... Basically, it's an ego trip because it's saying, if I was in your situation, I wouldn't have did what you did. So by, you're worse than me. How could you have done such a thing? And of course, it makes it easier to look at it by seeing that everybody is at where they're at, and they do what they can do. And if you look at like the idea of not having fixed entities or fixed selves, if you look at the idea of no self, there's really that person that hurt you. The reason that you're holding this resentment and this grudge against them is because you had some probably expectation of how they should behave, or afterward you came up with an expectation or how you think they should have behaved. And say, for example, like my best friend hurts me because isn't the kind of person I thought he would be in some situation, or like didn't react to me the way I thought he should react to me. I'm not hurt by what he did, right? I'm hurt by my expectations of what his behavior should have been like. And I'm hurt by my own attachments to my ego, to my identify with my personal self. So I'm hurt because you did this to me. So I take it personal, your action, whatever happened to be manifesting from your being at that moment, whether because of what mood you were in or just due to a certain circumstance. I'm taking that you tried to hurt me or somebody I love, and therefore I don't like you. So if you can develop some awareness and lose that attachment to the ego, doesn't mean get rid of it, but lose the attachment to it so you're not so caught in that role. That's when people that are okay and content in their beings, when somebody apologizes to them, those are people that often had no need to receive that apology. It might be helping the person that's apologizing to you, but you're okay, in your heart. Not only have you forgiven them, but you never condemn them for their action to begin with. And another thing too that I got to look at from this perspective is that the whole issue of right and wrong, good and evil, duality, relativities. So really because some of the worst experiences in my life where I thought were the worst, like, why would this person be doing this to me or treating me like that, or why did I deserve that? Now looking back, like, those were exactly what, what on my spiritual journey, exactly what I had to go through at that time. And like in the end, they were for my benefit. So even though that person might have thought they were doing something to hurt me, or might not have been on their best behavior, how it's hard for me to think that everything doesn't happen the way that it's supposed to be. Everything doesn't happen. It's easy to be like, oh, all the good things happen for a reason, but the things you consider bad, can you see that they happen for a reason too? And often the most growth comes out of what hurts us and makes us feel uncomfortable, stuff like that. For example, over here where I do my meditations, I have a little design that somebody had made for me that I had deep resentment against, and the reason I keep it there is because so I can remember to have love and compassion for them as well, and I can remember that, like, really in the deepest part of ourselves, we are one being. If I could see behind that person's ego and see behind my ego and personality structure, like, we're the same back there. The last thing I'm going to say about forgiveness is, like, it can't be commanded, right? So you can't make somebody forgive you. They can't make you forgive them. You could say it, but you can't change, like, the psyche or change the spirit of, if I just hate you, it doesn't matter what I say, right? Or if you tell me, like, man, you shouldn't have this resentment against me, and I know, but if I still have it, I can't get rid of it, And where does the resentment come from? In the first place, it comes from my attachment and my identification with my ego or with myself, because I think that there's a me that got hurt by you. So that's why I blame you for it. So ultimately, there's really no forgiving to do or to get, and you could see that. And I'm not saying that the outward acts are unnecessary, because they do bring a lot of healing to both parties, and they could be beneficial, but there is a point beyond forgiving and forgiveness. And then it's also important to see that obviously the people that are hurting you, people that have hurt you, like, are sick beings, no matter what they were going through, they are definitely sick and suffering, because I only project what's inside of me, so whatever I do comes out from my being. So, like, I'm going to go back again to when I was in active addiction. Like, I hurt a lot of people, and even though I thought in my limited perspective, like, I'm hurting you because of this, and I'm yelling at you because of this, and you made me mad, that's why this is happening, and I want this from you, so I'm going to do this to you. If you were able to see that from an outside perspective, it was inevitable because of just how sick I was at the time. It was inevitable that those actions, those words, those thoughts would come out of my being because of the state of mind and being that I was in, So and people had that compassion for me, and I did make amends to a lot of people that I hurt when I got clean, and they, I was grateful to be able to come in contact with some very understanding people that could see that that way for what it was. So ultimately, it helps me to look at, like, the essential being of the person or the soul, because it's just our personalities that are clashing, and, like, there's still the real us that's sitting behind there, and that's what I'm trying to see in you, even if I don't. Because there's people I could forgive or not resent that I just don't like their personalities, and at times I've tried, by being overly spiritual or whatever you'd want to call it, to like somebody that I don't like, and that's just phony. So it's more important, to be honest with where I'm at, So if I can keep a mix of honesty and compassion and share about it, like, resentments hold a lot more sway when you don't let them out, or when you only talk about them in a negative connotation and only see the other person's part of the behavior. Because there are some resentments that could be, like, where you're hurt, where they did do wrong to you. But a vast majority of them are cases where you definitely played a role in that as well. And if I've had to make amends for people that hurt me a lot more than I hurt them, but making the amends wasn't it was, for me, it was for my soul, for my spirit. So I was making it for me, and I was making it for them too, but I wasn't concerned with the fact that they did something worse to me than what I did to them. That was completely irrelevant. And if they apologize for their part, that's cool. If they don't, that's cool too, because I'm not attached to that. Like I said, I already don't hold that in my heart. I'm not waiting till they say the word sorry to me. They might want to, because that's a humbling experience for them, and that might be something they have to do for their spirit, but I'm not dependent on them saying the words to me for me to forgive them in my heart.